Hi everyone, we're on March 26 and it's 2023 and the cards are 1, 2 and 3. So choose your cards if you haven't yet done so. So this week we are talking about three aspects, and the aspects of things like risk, the risk we attach to things or what we invest in something, and wounding, and also self-sacrifice, and the balance of these three, right? And the healing, so the wounding and the healing in the middle. Okay, so the first one, the first archetype card, and I should clarify, when you're talking about archetypes, it is not like an oracle card and, you know, like psychic cards. Archetype cards are very much about archetypal personalities and traits. And personality is maybe not exactly the right definition, but it's probably the easiest thing to kind of explain it in a way. If you think about traits that we all have, behavior patterns and things that go on, and they show up, there's, you know, to different elements, we all have different traits that show up stronger than others, right? And when we can understand there's certain traits in the collective or within ourselves and utilize, you know, look at maybe the shadow element and turn it into the light, it can obviously help us in so many levels in society, help us within our life and our business. So if you think about the gambler now, when this card came out, it kind of came out like, it didn't come out straight, you know, inversed or, you know, upright. And the gambler card, and I'm sorry, the gambler card is a bit damaged, but the gambler card is card that, in relation to business, if you think about it, every business in a way has a certain amount of gamble, because when you invest in a business is about financial investment, time and energy, and when you put so much in so that you get more back. So if you think about your training and then the money that you do you keep putting it back into your business to grow it, to advertise it, to market it, that's how a business grows. So they talk about it like, if you look at when you're doing something, it's what we call a return on investment. So a good, wise business knows that you have to put money in, right? You have to put time in and energy for it to grow back. If you want it to grow faster or bigger, often you need to put more money in, right? And yes, sometimes it's more time and energy as well, but obviously that's why when someone is quite wealthy, they can often put a lot more money in, and the business has a chance of growing. Well, there's certain key things have to be there, but they're still taking a risk, right? There's a certain gamble, and there can be almost, sometimes we can look at things and see it as a good gamble, or, you know, it's like a high risk, a low risk, right? And there's certain things in life that we can do that we think is a sure thing, but is it a sure thing? Right? It's perception, right? And in life, we have to have the ability to take some risks sometimes. You don't grow, and if you're not willing to try something new and take a risk by trying something new or doing something different, taking that new job. In many ways, I believe that element can help us have a little bit more courage sometimes by taking a risk. It pushes through the barriers. The challenge is when someone just gambles for the sake of gambling. They maybe gamble someone else's money away, somebody else's time, energy, expect someone else to make the sacrifice for their gain. And you can see this shows up in society in all sorts of ways. We're seeing a lot of things now because people get a lot of things for free, and they expect things for free. They don't want to make any risk, but they expect someone else to do it. Or if it's someone else who they want the partner to pay for everything, or the parent to pay for everything. And if something goes wrong in a business investment, so it's like someone wants someone else to invest in their business, but they don't want to take the risk, but they want someone else to take the risk, that kind of thing, right? So in its positive forms. If we look at it in life and business, if it's the balance of getting that balance right. The balance is the ability to take self-responsibility and the ability to take risk and to balance that risk way out. And recognize that often we have to be able to risk a certain amount, but it is weighing things up. You have to do your work. So when you're going to advertise or going to spend on something, it's about doing your homework and saying, right, okay, what is the best? So when people are investing in a business, for example, if you think about a restaurant, what a restaurant charges and what they have to invest to make money is a lot of money. So they have to invest in the rental, their menus, their staff, they have to invest in the food, they have to invest in the cutlery. There's all these things that they have to do to invest. So it takes a certain amount of risk. But obviously, before they set that up, they're going to have to look and say, right, is there a demand for my restaurant? Is there enough people eat out in my area? Is the location a good location? Right. Can we get some cash flow? Are we going to, have we got a good chance of getting money in to keep us going as the business grows? Because every business obviously takes a while, often in the first few stages, to get going. Have we got enough cash flow? It's being balanced enough to weigh the pros and cons. Yes, sometimes things can go wrong and sometimes we don't expect, but it's about weighing up that balance. Right now, on the card, it says, the light attribute is the willing to follow intuition even when others doubt you. So the more stronger and sure your intuition, and you're always accurate about everything, you're going to have good intuition to do your business and get more chances, right? If some people, sometimes people think they're more intuitive than they are, and they're just taking logic. It's logic, right? So you have to know the difference, and knowing, what kind of risks tend to pay off, right? Or relying on luck rather than hard work. So sometimes, like the gamblers, so sometimes like financial investors who want to invest in businesses, good gamblers, basically. They don't want to really do the work. They want to just put the money in, or they want just again someone else to do it for them. And again, we can see this sometimes. If you look at society, we have created a society where in many ways the gambler is very strong in the collective, and I'll explain why. We've created a society that everybody can get things at the press of a button. So if you think about, you can go on and put something on your credit card, you can get the house, you can get the car. Now, of course, you need a certain amount of credit, but there's this kind of false illusion that you can just get what you want and as quick as you want. So people are not willing to always sacrifice the amount of years' work to dedicate their service to certain things. And I see even in sometimes the coaching, healing and therapy industry where people want to be experts, but they're not willing to do the years of work and skill and training. And they want to cream off other people. So you see it, people that come in, I get it, where people come and they copy your content, or they're just constantly looking for someone else's ideas to thing as their own, or where people just want to get a certificate, but they want the fastest training. They don't want to do things in a way that is maybe the right way or the safest way. It's all about just getting more for as little. Now, you might look at some of that as good business sense. So sometimes there's an aspect of a good, wise business that thinks smart than hard, right? But there's a fine line, obviously, with integrity and being truthful. And obviously, as a spiritual business, it's always about getting the balance right of being ability to take risk, use your intuition, but do it all from the purest intent, and not just doing it it's like another thing can happen is where we don't want to do certain things. Like a lot of people don't like to do their advertising, their marketing aspect, and they'll just pay someone else to do that, right? They may not see the gambler showing up as that, but if they don't take any self-responsibility at all and don't take any input and expect someone else to make the money for them, but they aren't contributing, not doing the work to make sure it's aligned and whatever. They are handing over the responsibility to somebody else. If it doesn't work, blame someone else. There's a fine line, because even when you hire people, you have to make sure there's alignment. So that's the gambler. Okay. Now, no matter what card you have picked out, all the cards are tied in, and you'll see. So the next card is the Wounded Child. Now, the Wounded Child did come out upside down. So I'm going to show you. Right. So these are Caroline, Mrs. Carr. So obviously we all know as healers and coaches and therapists the wounded child, but reminders and layers to remember in relation to life and business. We all have the wounded child within us, and the wounded child it triggers certain thoughts, beliefs, actions, patterns of behaviour. The wounded child is within us can help us have greater compassion, care, increased awareness, increased understanding. It can help the desire to solve maybe that problem that we had challenges with, but it can also keep us stuck. It can keep us stuck in patterns that are not healthy for us or for other people. It can stop us growing in our business. It can stop us investing. So sometimes the wounded child gets stuck in this sense of maybe either entitlement or fear, trauma. The wounded child can also, keep us small, can also, so for example, if you had a parent that was a gambler, an unhealthy gambler, right, you'd have a lot of wounding around someone who wasted money or someone who took risk, right? So, I mean, I know someone particularly who's, someone who was close to me who had a partner who basically gambled everything they had, and it was a constant thing. It was such an abusive environment to be in, because there was no security. Constantly the person was gambling everything and was a dreamer. But they didn't want the work. They wanted all these different things, and they were willing to gamble anything to try and get lucky, right? So there could be a lot of wounding for someone that's had that kind of environment. So they can maybe struggle to take good risk. They can struggle or be resentful of investing. They maybe expect actually someone else to do it for them, pay. But also there can also be a lot of compassion there. There can be getting an amazing compassion, a lot of healing, a lot of learning for that. And a lot of people obviously go on to help people with these issues. Now, when we're in the light aspect, we have there's great compassion and desire to serve others, right? And it opens the learning of and the path of forgiveness. And obviously the inner child and for a healthy business and a healthy life, we have to be able to and bring forgiveness into your life, self-forgiveness and forgiveness of other things. And it's such an important part of the awakening process at the moment as well. Now, the shadow aspect blames all dysfunctional relationships on childhood wounds and resists moving on through forgiveness. So you could be blaming everything that's in your life or your business just to do with your childhood, but not taking any self-responsibility, not being an adult, being immature, treating your business, for example, like a hobby or a therapy, wanting your cake and eat it, not being honest with yourself about certain things. On the other hand, it can be extremely powerful. Now, it did come up as mostly the shadow aspects. So what I would say there is just look at maybe things that maybe sabotaging your business, sabotaging your success, stopping you from taking risk when it's needed, or stopping you, or maybe sometimes people just invest in things and don't think about it. They just constantly invest in the wrong things. So sometimes people invest money, but don't invest in time, or expect to build their business or their vacation out of luck rather than skills or what their zone of genius is, right? So, and that can again, sometimes they don't feel worthy to do with childhood when they don't feel worthy of doing what they're really supposed to be here to do. They look for an easier option because they don't want to have to step into their power, right? So that can really play out. Now, the other card, the third card, is the Martyr, right? Now, the Martyr card is, it can be related to all three cards, but I'm just going to talk about it in relation first. So the Martyr card is very much about self-sacrifice. Now, in its positive light, the Martyr card has the willingness to self, and its most positive light, the Martyr has the willingness to self-sacrifice for greater good, for other people, for someone else. It can be for politics, for society. And if you look at true light workers and star seeds and light warriors at the moment who have been trying to help humanity awaken for a while, they are, you know, they are willing, many are willing to be martyrs, to put themselves on the chopping block. It's like history repeating itself in a wee bit. Obviously, maybe we'll take that back, what I said, that one. But what I mean is, they have this strength within them to be willing to sacrifice themselves for the greater good, right? So the greater good of humanity. But obviously, the imbalance of the Martyr is when you are self-sacrificing and no one is. So when you self-sacrifice and you're helping other people, and by doing that, so if you think about a mother can sacrifice certain things to help their child. You know, if you think about a poor mother who is really struggling, and we see mothers will do things, make extreme sacrifices for the survival of their children, right, in extreme circumstances. And that willingness, that love, you know, and obviously part of being a mother is that ability to do that. And if you see that the caregiver role, and I have to hold my hand up and say that that's the martyrdom can go a really kind of extreme. You've got to be careful because they're used to self-sacrificing. And sometimes on an unconscious level, they know at the soul level there is certain roles that they're here to play, but it's getting a balance. And that's one of the things that I found out, which was quite interesting to do in my soul's mission. But the reality is that often if you sacrifice all the time, but the people round about you are not going to use that sacrifice for greater good and are just using you and just using it for their own good in a way, and there's no respect, there's no value, and they're not actually taking what you're, you know. So say that you're sacrificing things in your business, you know, either money, time, or energy to help other people, but they're actually not taking that with complete honor and value and utilizing it, right? If they don't respect or they have resentment, they're not actually using that and changing it, right? Well, there's an imbalance. That's one thing I've really had to work, because I've always in my business, which people might be surprised at, always done about 50% or 30-40%, and either voluntary or gave people in some way things for free. And before I started my business, I'd done a lot of voluntary work. And even in the beginning of my business, I'd done voluntary work as well. Now, that's personal choice. But many times I ended up burnt out, and also realised that I didn't do people any favours, because it's like, even if if I have a client and they say to me, I'm struggling to grow my business and blah, blah, blah. And if I ask them, if what they're going to be willing to invest, and they say, I'm not investing in anything, am I helping them by just giving them freebies all the time? Because they want other people to pay and value their time and energy, but they're maybe not willing to value other people. And I've had some strange things, experiences and situations like that. And, people want to pay someone that's maybe done 4 years of marketing, or a copywriter that spent 10 years studying copywriting, and they want to pay them like minimum wage when they want to charge quite a lot of money. And they seem to, devalue someone else. And if you're a coach or a healer or a therapist, and it's something that, I've had to really work on to come out of that, is that if you're allowing them to stay in that victimhood and expect you to do all the training to get the best training, but you to give it for free and not to do the work. There's an imbalance. And we all want to maybe help other people because there is circumstances where people are trying very, very hard and they can't, find it hard to get themselves out of the situation. There's also situations where there's a lot of entitlement. I mean, I remember a situation, there's lots of situations like this, but I remember a situation where someone gave me a sob story and they came for a therapy treatment. They didn't have the money. They didn't tell me before it. So they left the clinic, and I was in dire straits at the time, real dire straits for a lot of reasons. I had been ill for a long period of time. And this person, and I needed this money to pay the rent for this clinic, and they walked out without paying. And as I was locking, and I was really upset that day because it happened to me quite a few times. And I was really upset. I was locking the clinic, and there I saw this woman walking out a clothes shop full of a bag with clothes she'd bought. And I just thought, who's the mug? Who is the mug? And this is where the martyr can, you can buy. I mean, I wasn't fun with it. I should have addressed it. But it's easy when you feel like that to fall into self-pity. So the negative shadow aspect of the martyr is when you don't take self-responsibility. So sometimes a mother will do things for the child, and sometimes they do make sacrifices and they think they're doing it for greater good, but they're not. Sometimes it's actually so that they want the child to just like them and love them, but they're not actually doing it for the greater good. And then they think, poor me, I mean, look at my life. And I remember also having an aunt, and she wasn't a relative aunt, it was just somebody we called an aunt, and she really, the self-sacrifice that she gave was just insane to a degree that it caused lots and lots of problems to her. But then she would fall into deep self-pity that, there was no respect, no value. And you can do that in business. It's, and you have to be in business if you have to be able to, when you give things for free, give it with an open heart. And you have to know what you are not willing to give for free. So there's some things like in my groups that I delete or I don't do. And maybe people think I'm being hard, but I know that I'm very generous in what I do. And there's certain things that I do. I do a lot for people. And I've had, most of my life, I had it very tough, particularly financially. But I made lots of sacrifices other people weren't willing to make. And sometimes I'm too generous. But there's other things I just won't do. And I think, no, and so you have to have your boundaries. So it's really, really important to have healthy boundaries. So when you talk about risk and the energy of something, right, in your business, in your life, right, new adventure requires a certain amount of risk. A new business, a new project, certain amount of risk. Even letting go of something can require risk because it's something new. If you're seeking security, the thing about a spiritual business, of course, as a business owner, you want some sort of security and growth, but we understand if you're truly a spiritual and a soul aligned business, it's mostly about the soul. You're functioning from the soul's mission, the soul purpose, which in many ways you're working on dissolving the attachment to security, to the superficial, right? It's because it's the attachment to financial security is the attachment to things that keeps us stuck often and stops us evolving and actually stops us ironically attracting more. So look at your business and your life and look and say, right, am I putting risk in here, or am I expecting just to get everything with so what area is it? Am I willing to put the time, energy, and money in it? Or is there an imbalance there? Am I putting too much time, energy, and money and hoping and praying something will work, but I've not got a strategy? Or or am I not following my intuition? Or am I going by my intuition? Am I going by and I'm taking that risk because I feel guided? There's a fine line. The energy. So obviously it did come out as like upside down, but the wounded child, what energy is showing up in my business in relation to my wounding? Is it showing up in a great strength that I've turned a lot of my wounding round and I'm really utilizing it in my business? Or is the child element, the wounded child, self-sabotaging? Have I got wounding around risk and investment? Have I got wounding about self-sacrifice? And even sometimes relationships with the mother and wherever, where you maybe felt that maybe a mother has cast things up because she's sacrificed, or you don't want to be like someone else who was a martyr, right? Or are you, is the wounding so often a lot of us can be the rescuer for parents or other siblings, and we're used to being the martyr role, right? So the wounding can be shown up as looking after other people, maybe in your business and other things before you. Now, of course, when you build a business and you're hiring people and things, you always have to pay them first, right? And there's lots of things you consider, but I know sometimes I have a tendency to think about everybody else before my own business, and it's not good practice. And this is where, again, it's about, you've got to consider what's energetically going on. Is the wounded healer within us showing up in its strong light, or is it the sabotage and within the child, the inner child, the wounded child? And where are you self-sacrificing, or where are you not willing to self-sacrifice? And that's another one, because as a light worker and a spiritual worker, there's a certain amount of self-sacrifice in the way that we do our work. Most of the greatest spiritual workers that I know and people that I know are regarded as, and have a lot of respect as friends who have done a lot of work and made huge sacrifices in their own personal life to in their spirituality and to help others. And one of the things I find and I disagree with when I hear a lot through the pandemic, I heard a lot of people saying, more spiritual people should be just sharing everything for free. But often, and a lot of people I heard saying this were people that were very financially secure and had all sorts of things, but never really financially invested much ever in their spirituality. They expected people who had sacrificed most of their life and didn't have physical things because of what they sacrificed, and there was a sense of entitlement. So there's a balance here, and it's and the martyr of us has to be able to, if you have a client like that, either call them out or say, well, why should I give you it for free? What do you do for free? And this kind of thing, because there is sort of thing, and sometimes people don't see the bigger picture. So and many of us have spent, like I know I've spent 30 years investing highly. I didn't have physical things when other people were getting married, having children, nights out, having fancy clothes and lots of things. I was doing my spiritual work. My circumstances were a wee bit different because I spent many years like housebound at times and other things, and my life just it didn't, other things didn't seem as important, but I still chose what I invested my money in. And I have to value myself now. If I don't value all the tens of thousands of pounds in the tens of thousands of hours invested in training and study, what am I doing? I'm being an unhealthy martyr, and I'm allowing other people to be in the victim and just, it's like creaming off without doing the work. It's like the gambler who just wants to get things by luck rather than actually willing to make a sacrifice. So there's a balance. Okay, so I hope this helps. So this is it is in a way the energy of March 26, but this a card is these sets of cards are a great way to look at certain energy imbalances in your business in relation to risk, time even, and sacrifice. Okay, bye for now, everyone. Bye-bye.